terms of ranking the best and the worst Bedwars modes, I often feel like the normal modes are left out of the equation. Most of the rankings come from Dreams Bedwars modes. This includes Rush, Ultimate, 40v40 Castle, Voidless, Gun, and Lucky Block. So, in an attempt to get a slightly unbiased list, I'm going to be going through all of the 4 Bedwars modes and 4v4, and I'm going to be figuring out which mode is the best. Let's start off with Solo Bedwars. Now, in Solo Bedwars, the random queuing factor doesn't really matter. The reason why queuing doesn't really matter is that most of the time there's going to be a sweat in solos, and most of the time you aren't going to have a teammate. I mean, you could team, but whatever. And I feel like the matchmaking is just good because of that. The thing is about this mode is that you can always get better. There are no real terrible teams in this game mode. And that's what I really like about it. In terms of strategy, I feel like most games actually play out to be quite the same. Like right now, I'm doing the strategy that every Bedwars player should do on their first game. Or their first rush of solo. No! Which is just rush with TNT, but fortunately for me, I don't think Blue's the best Bedwars player in existence. Yet again, nor am I. So I should be fine. Also, I made my own texture pack in case you were wondering why I have a purple stone sword. It's literally called Purple Stone Sword. Nice. I don't think the predictability of the games is going to be that high, because games are very, very predictable. So, it's basically just repetitive, but the main factor in this is getting better, and I feel like getting better is just like that thing that pushes me back into Solo Bedwars every single time I try to get out of it. In terms of just like the matchmaking factor, I've already talked about like teammate matchmaking and difficulty of opponents. But is this game mode like easy for noobs to pick up? And that is no. Solos is not at all a beginner-friendly mode. It's probably one of the least beginner-friendly modes in Bedwars. Nay, the entirety of Hypixel. Like, I feel like the skill is meh, most games actually, because variance is a big factor in Bedwars as well. And the games are usually very varied in terms of skill level. Like, there is no one definitive skill level that you're going to be put up against. Overall, I feel like Bedwars is designed to be a team game. Like, honestly, there is no real other way that you can play the game besides the way that the game wants you to play it. You have to play aggressive or else you're going to be left in the dust in Solo Bedwars. And yeah, that's fun for some people. I get it. It's fun for me. But it's not very fun for new players, and it doesn't really get the server that many players. Plus, the games are most often very sweaty, and it leads to having the least player count out of any of the Bedwars modes. Overall, I feel that Bedwars Solos still deserves to have a 5 or 6 out of 10, as it's very, like, situational depending on who would play it. But yet again, this community still has a bunch of sweats who are playing it daily, and I feel like it's still a very fun game to play. Like, even if you're a noob, you can still find some enjoyment in this game when you don't get insta-rushed, which rarely happens still. Plus, there's that little bit of variety to that game that's going to give me the 6 out of 10 instead of the 5 out of 10 that I initially think. For my personal use, I am going to give Solo Bedwars a 9 or 8 out of 10, just because I really like the aggressive playstyle. So, official ranking, unbiased, 6 out of 10, but biased ranking, 8 or 9 out of 10. Now let's go into Doubles Bedwars. Now, unlike Solos, 3s, and 4s, I feel like Doubles Bedwars actually has the worst queuing in the game. If you want to win in this game mode, you need to have a party. There is no exception. You need to have a party, and your teammate needs to be at least semi-good, and you need to have good coordination. And you have to hope that your teammate's at least good. For example, I have a 15-star. I mean, I don't know. I've seen, like, 20 stars who have whooped me in Bedwars, but whatever. The main problem right now is basically just that there's a party that we have to go up against. Random queuers cannot go up against parties at all. Let me just tell you that straight up. Random queue against random queue, you at least have Another thing with duos is that I feel. Why am I playing this again? Another thing with duos is that this is actually the most sweaty Bedwars mode. I know you could argue Forest, but Forest still has a huge majority of casuals playing it. And you have to get insanely lucky to even win a single Bedwars game when you're random queuing or you're playing with bad players like Dragiano. And most of the time you have to really try hard even when you're playing in a party because there are so many other parties as well. Doubles does mix it up though, which puts it above solo Bedwars. Because the fact is with doubles, you don't always have to be on the very aggressive heavy playstyle. As long as you have somebody who's good at the game and is able to deal with the other team, you can really do any style you want. You can do one player aggressive, one player defensive, both players aggressive, one aggressive, one support. You can do so many things. And I just feel like I love that variety in Bedwars. I also feel like the extra aspect of teamwork makes it so that Bedwars is just a lot more challenging of a game to win, even when you're in a party. And I feel like when you're in a party, this game mode is really enjoyable. But there are a few minor nitpicks, just like the random teaming is pretty bad. The matchmaking most commonly puts you up against sweats. And yet again, I would argue that this is an even worse mode to put new players in because they don't have friends. I'm going to give Bedwars Duos the 8 out of 10, or 7.5 out of 10 if I'm not feeling the most generous. The reasoning for this is I feel like it's leagues better than solo Bedwars, but I still do feel like there are quite a few aspects that could be improved. Specifically for newer players, and that's where 3s and 4s come in. For my personal ranking of doubles Bedwars, I would actually place it below solo Bedwars as a 6 out of 10, just mainly because most of the time I don't have friends who want to play just one-on-one with me, and I also have friends who live in different time zones. And most of the time I have to solo queue Bedwars, which is like a nightmare most of the time. So for my personal ranking, I'll give doubles Bedwars a 5 out of 10, but for the definitive ranking, I'm gonna give it a 7.75 out of 10. Now I got 3s Bedwars. 3s Bedwars is actually more popular than solo Bedwars, and that's actually a surprise to me. 3s Bedwars is a mode that I feel like nobody talks about because it's just like 4s but worse. The matchmaking I feel like is much better than solos and doubles. Mainly because there's a lot less sweats in these modes. You'll usually put up with a randomly queued teammate or two. I don't have another teammate here to demonstrate it, but whatever. And the generators are already much faster, which makes it a lot more fast-paced of a game. And in 3's Bedwars, it already opens up a lot more opportunities than just playing aggressive. Mainly because most of the times you have to go through, I just lagged like hell. All the generators are boosted in this mode. This just makes Bedwars a much more fast-paced game, and I really enjoy the concept of that. I mean, this is what Bedwars always boils down to, but this just, like, tenfold it. How are they both still alive? I will admit, like, the solo aspect, like, this is what I'm gonna include for 4v4 Bedwars and 4v4v4 Bedwars, and why do I get only one teammate every single time? I feel like 3's solos is way better than 4 solos. Because on 4s you're pretty much screwed. There's no real way for you to win when you're going up against solos and 4s, unless you're like Gamer Boy 80. But in 3s and 4s, solo matchmaking isn't the biggest problem, simply because you already have a chance to have such a small team size to begin with. In situations like last game, where, you know, I just get beat up on by 2 people and I just screw up multiple times. Yeah, it's hard, but yet again, if you screw up in a regular game, that can lead to your bed being lost as well. Essentially, all being solo does, like when you don't have a bed, of course, all that means is that you just have to play more aware, and your choices may have a lot more weight than, oh, I might die and lose these emeralds. And this is why I really enjoy 3s. It's a much more laid-back, casual mode than 4's Bedwars. But yet again, it's not the most casual experience. Like, there's still challenge in this mode. You can be challenged a lot, but there's no obstacle that you can't really overcome easily. That's one of the main factors that I like about this mode, and I fear that if this game mode gets too many players, all those players will become more sweaty, and therefore the game will be ruined. No, hello, would you like to fight? Hello, would you like to fight? Why am I getting Watchdog? I confused Watchdog for a player! I'm giving 3s my first personal 0 from sucked. In all seriousness, I really feel like 3's Bedwars is one of the most unique and underrated game modes. And I don't want it to be overrated either, because when it gets overrated, then more sweats will come. I really do enjoy the aspects that it brings to the table. It brings aspects that no other game mode could really bring besides Forest Bedwars. But Forest Bedwars is more for competitive players, and 3s is for more casual players. And that's why I'm gonna give 3s the objective rating of an 8 out of 10, I think. So as I was saying, I think I'm actually not gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I think I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. Because the thing is, I don't think 3's Bedwars is in any way better than Doubles. Doubles is still a fantastic game mode. I do feel like 3's just lacks in some of the challenging aspects. Like, sure, you could still lose, but yet again, there are still a lot of casual players who play the game, and there are still a lot of competitive players who play the game. Just sprinkle into the mix. It causes a lot of chaos, and it also causes a lot of lapses in judgment. 3's Bedwars is very good for noobs as well. I feel like that's a great thing, but yet again, it's not good training for competitive, which competitive players also makes up a large portion of the player base, which is why I feel safe giving, like, doubles an 8 out of 10 and solos a 6 out of 10. Because competitive players are still a large portion of the player base, not casuals. So that's a 7 out of 10. I think actually 7.5 out of 10 for the objective ranking. And for the personalized ranking, I feel like I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I really feel like this is my most personal one by far. I might also want to give 3s a 8 out of 10. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Let's go for that for personal. Because I really feel like my personal rating should be the same as the actual rating for this one. Because my opinion is really personal. Because basically 3's Bedwars doesn't have that too many people talking about it. Now let's talk about the most popular mode, Forest Bedwars. This is contender for the best game mode on Hypixel. I'll start off with that. Forest Bedwars combines 4 players and allows them to do whatever they want. This allows the most freedom for any player to do any action, because most likely every single field is going to be covered. The ideal loadout is very good, because if you play this game in a party, you can have the most fun out of any game on Hypixel. So there are also 2 ways to play. There's the 100% win route, and there's having fun route. The having fun route is basically do whatever team competition. The wanting to win route is you get iron golems, you camp at your base, and another half of the people play aggressive. I also feel like a lot of the player base is a lot more good and bad on this. I feel like the sweats are like very rare to come by, and even when there are sweats, it's not like you still can't take them out, because yet again, even the sweats can sometimes have poor lapses in judgment. Even the sweats can sometimes be overwhelmed by the odds. Forza also still has, like, combined with 3's, it has, like, some of the best iron generation. It really makes it a fast-paced game. But this time you also get split gen, and that's just amazing. Split gen is the best thing ever, because with multiple, like, 4 people, you can get so much split gen. I also can't say much about Forza that I haven't already said about 3's. Forza is basically just 3's, except the matchmaking's better. Plus, it has a little bit of extra charm to it, because you can basically do more stuff. Plus, even random queue teammates are fine. Like, when you could say that random queue teammates are, like, 50% of the time still good. Like, when you say that randoms can be good, like, 50% of the... Oh, okay, he did not just do that. I forgot one of the, like, key parts of this game mode, which is bed destruction solos. Bed destruction solos absolutely sucks in this mode. Like, literally, there's a 0% chance that you win, unless you're Gamerboy 80 or something, which I've already said before. There's no way that you're able to win solos in Bedwars 4s, and more often than not, your teammates aren't going to be the best, but they also aren't going to be the worst, so they're most likely going to die. I've ended more games than not being solo in 4s, and I've actually won quite a few of them. So I know firsthand that there is, like, no way that you're going to win these things. So, basically, 4s is just, like, an absolute nightmare in these situations, which is actually, like, why we need to have parties to have a good time in this mode. My personal ranking for 4s, and not objective, is going to be a 10 out of 10, because 4s is just a great mode, especially when you're playing in parties, which is really the only time I'm ever going to play this mode ever again, in a party. Or if I want to do some memes. Because the thing is, there's just way too many things that you can do in parties. And I genuinely think that Bedwars 3's is one of the best modes. So I'm also going to put Bedwars 4's for objective ranking 7 out of 10. I really feel like this mode does not benefit from its increased player count, unlike doubles. Essentially, Force Bedwars is literally just the same game being played over and over and over and over and over again. It's literally just the exact same game. How does this have... It has the least amount of players. But how does this even have... What? How does this even have more than 8 players, those being the developers of it? Bah! I really feel like Capture Mode was a much more unique experience, and I have no idea why they replaced it with this arbitrary copy that's nothing short of bad. I mean, Capture's Bedwars was at least unique, and I could really appreciate, like, the influence from other game modes, such as, I can really appreciate the influence. Like, it's a really good Capture. Capture was a very original idea that I have no idea why it didn't blow up. But yet again, that's just what happens when you're looking for a good idea. And yeah, 0 out of 10, that's it.